Hey, welcome to the October 7th, 2025 meeting of the Flathead Innovation Water Management Board. First order of business, want to adopt the agenda. So any comments, questions, or concerns on the agenda? Roger, did you want to have a discussion on that?
Yeah. The agenda got located a bit since the draft came out. And so I guess my only concern is it looks like this section 4 got inserted earlier, and I'm just wanting to make sure that we can get through 5, 6, and 7 the way it's currently structured. So otherwise, I guess I would suggest that we take 4 and move it down and bump up 5, 6, and 7 to be 4, 5, and 6, and then make 4, 7. But if Ethan, you think we can get through all 4 and still hit everything else on the agenda, I'm fine to leave it as it is.
Mr. Vice Chairman, Board, the reason it got moved up is that we thought there was going to be somebody here for public comment relating to the WPNP. So we tried to front load other participants like LOCI and possibly public. I don't see the public here right now, so that's not a big deal. I also think that what you're going to be looking at here under 4 is stuff you've already seen. And you already moved these sections to a 15-day public comment. There's only one public comment to discuss. So unless you're going to backtrack on some previous policies that you thought were good enough to go out for comment, I think it would go fast. There is one form. Historically, you've moved forms pretty expeditiously. So I think we could get through this pretty quick, but I wouldn't want to curtail the board's opportunity to prove me wrong,
I guess sounds like we can.
I'll try to move us through it.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, suggestions on the agenda? If none, when you're ready, we'll take the motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as provided.
Motion by Roger. Second by Ken, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Everyone approved. All right. George, would you mind giving us an opening prayer today?
Sure. Go ahead and say a prayer here.
Yeah.
Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for this gathering of board members, staff members. Be with us in our hearts and in our mind. Help us to make sound decisions on the information provided to us. Let us all work together. Enjoy the beautiful weather that we have outside when we get off work. Thank you for the wonderful moon that we've got to see the last 2 days. And just be with us all and protect us and guide us. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Meeting minutes are at www.frwmb.gov for those who are interested. Anybody who's following us, and attendance, please.
Clayton Mack,
Here.
Roger Noble,
Here.
George McLeod,
Here.
Ken Pitt,
Here.
Georgia Sneeze. Here.
Thank you, and we're still missing a federal non-voting rep for the record. Any potential conflicts of interest, Georgia?
No.
Ken?
No.
Roger?
No.
George?
No.
And none for myself. Adoption of meeting minutes of 9/23/25, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes of 9/23/25.
Okay, any comments before we take a vote? Any other review of this?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. We're good. We have a motion. Any other comments? If none, when you're ready, we'll take a second.
All second.
Second by Ken, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, there we go, we have approved. So public comment for items not on the agenda. We have no physical public in the audience today. Anybody online?
If anyone online would like to comment, please raise your hand and I will allow you to speak. Say no online comment.
No public comment at this time. So we're on to item number 3, LOCI plan. And I think we've got plenty to discuss here. So let's can we first welcome LOCI? Glad you're here.
Hi.
So we'll just go down through this. We'll go ahead and let them do their presentation and then we'll go ahead and do our discussion and there's plenty to discuss. And actually we've got a few people that have looked at this. And then following up from our last conversation, Roger and Ethan and I got a chance to meet with the 5 of it yesterday. So we can discuss that as well. So welcome, and I think we're ready for your briefings.
Okay. Is the, can you enable sharing for us? So, while that's getting set up, how long, so, we know that you guys have seen the packet and we were planning on going through that fairly quickly. Knowing that you guys have a lot of things on the agenda, is there a time goal for us?
I don't, I mean, if you present this fairly quickly as you suggest, how much time do you need?
10
Yeah, we can do it pretty quickly.
10 minutes.
And then obviously we want to make sure we're addressing questions because I think we're putting some old information out that's just been developed further. And then I think the cost piece, we'd like to go into kind of methodology and that kind of thing on that.
All right, you got it.
Perfect.
So we went ahead and shared screen, so.
Yeah, so we pulled together kind of the assessment piece that brings all those different pieces together that we've been talking about you with. The first portion of it is the project narrative. I think we've touched on this a little bit before, but it really just outlines codes, assumptions, kind of quality of building level, and overall project goals. We use this for our own pricing exercise, and we also shared it with contractors. So we'll talk about that methodology here in a little bit, but it informed a lot of kind of baseline assumptions and then quality level for the building and overarching goals for the project. Nothing too earth shattering in it, but and you guys can more than welcome to ask us questions about any specifics within that. And then building program. I think since we last talked, we've showed this one too quite a bit. Since we've last met with you and just based on feedback, there's only been one kind of minor modification to this. Rather than having a finance kind of breakout space, we've done a breakout space that could be utilized between the 2 finance offices, but also utilized by other staff members, and it's sized to allow for another office in the future if shuffling needed to happen. So just to give you a little bit more flexibility and kind of allowed for a little bit more efficiency within the layout to handle it that way. Building plan, also similar to what you've seen before, but we did do a few modifications based on feedback the last time we went with the overall board. One is in the entry. So we pushed the entry vestibule a little bit closer to that large meeting room in an effort to be able to kind of have community or even you guys use just that large meeting room vestibule and the restroom spaces and close off the rest of the spaces either via like some kind of gate or something at the reception area. And then we have a back exit door that would be used for the large meeting room. But other than that, it really can be self-sufficient and kind of self-contained for use after hours or things like that. So that was a great feedback that we heard from you guys and was pretty easy to incorporate in. With that, the reception kind of, basically we turned it and it just addresses the space a little bit differently, but same size that we had before. And then the other pieces that we incorporated, we brought in, I was like, what do we, oh, we did the restroom with a shower towards the back area. That was another piece of feedback we had. So if people were cleaning off equipment, boots, things like that after being in the field, they could come in and use that with a little bit more ease and not walk across the whole space for that. So that was really great feedback to get. And then again, that breakout space that we have between the two finance rooms, we think it can be better utilized if it's just a shared breakout space and size to allow for a future office if needed. Those are the main changes though on plan, pretty insignificant, but definitely addressing some of the feedback that we got. With that, we've been working a lot in developing kind of the overall volumes and spatial relationships of the building. So we work a lot in elevation and in 3D. So these are just the elevations. It's really just to inform materiality, kind of where windows are, things like that. Design, we know is going to change as this project evolves. If the land changes or when you guys procure land, that could, modify things. So I don't think anything's set in stone, but what this does establish is it establishes a quality level, materiality, and kind of this idea of permanence and a place in the community, an identifiable long-term place that
Facility.
people will recognize as for you guys. With that, we were able to work through pricing. So we provided overall project cost, but we have it broken down into basically two different categories. One is cost of construction, and then the other is kind of what we often refer to as soft cost. So cost of construction, and kind of that first box that we're pointing at over here. Cost of construction, we basically took our own estimate and then worked with 3 contractors who have done projects in kind of, well, in Ronan actually, but
Yeah.
in that area specifically recently to basically create an averaging between all of them to make sure that we're encompassing unknowns, travel costs, all these things that kind of impact the cost of construction. So they were looking at projects that were recently built and some that are still currently under construction. So we use their cost, and the cost of from our consultants too, for things like site development and things like that. So with that, we got a cost of construction. It's kind of an averaging of all of that. And then we put in a contingency factor on top of that for kind of bidding unknowns. And specifically in this area, site was discussed a lot. There's a lot of site conditions that might require more work than the typical building of this size, or any building for that matter. They're not workable, but it just sounded like there's probably some more like over excavating some poor soils, especially in the Ronan area, it sounded like. So we wanted to make sure that we're accommodating for costs like that. So with all of that accounted for, we're around 5.4 million for the construction cost of this project. I guess before I dive into the soft cost side, does anyone have questions about kind of methodology or how this is broken out or anything like that?
Questions? The projections, and I see what you've done, given the projections. I can only assume that when and if we get to a final site and we do final plans, that these would change and they may go up or even down a little.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what that kind of buffer piece is. We try to anticipate the unknowns, which is hard to do. We don't have a magic 8 ball, but try to put some cost in there to cover some of the unknowns. And then the other one is time. I don't know ever in my career if I've ever seen cost of construction go down, but maybe we'll luck out. But we also need to account for that, which at the end, we talk about construction escalation and as time passes, what we would project that to look like as well.
Thank you.
And yeah,
I think, I think one of the surprises, just so that you guys, so we're used to seeing, construction costs, broken out into these divisions. I think the one surprise that we will, point out to you guys is the site cost. So if we look, at our projects, like bigger picture, not just, in your area, we would expect the site work and kind of site demolition costs to be 12-ish% or something like that.
on the higher end, yeah.
Yeah, on that higher end. And all of the general contractors and the consultants had significantly higher costs in that one line item than we would typically see for other facilities about the same size. The rest of the numbers in here, we were not too surprised about any like where those numbers fell based on current construction costs. But I just do want to say that that's the one line item that Sarah and I had more conversation about than any other of the line items in there, just because it is. That one is unusual.
So we do think if land is procured, I think that we'd be able to tighten up that number, because there'd be knowns. And I think part of it is the unknowns of, what a site that you might get might have some utilities to it, might have no utilities to it, might have bad soil. So like that's partly why that number is higher. And so as we look at sites or potentially a site with a building on it, those pieces we can start fine tuning. And I think maybe we're jumping off where he was saying we might see some shifts in numbers, and that might be a place where we hopefully would realize a little bit of savings based on what we typically see.
Yeah, and that line item covers, so when we say site work, it's, kind of site grubbing, it's bringing utilities to the site, it's parking, it's building excavation, it's landscaping, it is, stormwater, yeah, dealing with stormwater. I said utilities, so there's a lot of things that are like within that singular line item, but it's kind of that I just want to touch on that one real quick. Sorry.
No, I think it's great.
Yeah.
And then as we talked about, the other part of any project is kind of these soft costs, and typically we see these range from about 25 to 30% of construction costs. We did try to fine tune this a bit. With the information we have on the building construction type, that your B occupancy, because you're an office building, that type of construction, what that would be, that all impacts like design fees, impacts all sorts of things. So with all the information we have, we're able to fine tune and work with consultants on an estimated cost to actually develop a full set of drawings and take you all the way from basically this jump off point all the way through construction and into, so you guys are into your building. So that's what that first number is. And we kind of took that as a fixed cost to do the project basically. And then there's kind of these other costs that are associated with any project that are outside the design team. So it's like geotechnical investigation, it is site surveying, it is permitting fees, it is like sewer and water department fees, builder's risk insurance. There's all these things that go into a whole project, and even furniture and artwork and things like that. So we want to make sure that there's a budget for those pieces. So that is what we came up with for soft cost. So over onto the far right of the screen here, you can see kind of this overall project cost. So we always like, anyone going into a project, but we always guide our own clients that we should be thinking both in cost of construction, because oftentimes that's what we all focus on. But you also have to think about these other costs that are associated to actually make a project successful in the end. And so I think where that puts us is about 6.7 million to do the project and get you inside your building. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's a construction escalation with, construction going up over the years. So it typical in, our industry is using a 3.8%, increase over the years. We sometimes it's lower, like between I'd say 2 and 4 is kind of our typical that we see, except during COVID. That was like 25%. But, so just to make sure, as we're thinking, if the build is 5 years out, we have to be thinking about those numbers of what that cost of construction would be at that time and making adjustments for inflation, basically. Do you have any add-ons? to
No, I
that?
don't, no.
Okay.
So the other, I guess the other piece is, sorry, yeah, I guess I
No,
do.
this is perfect.
So at the bottom, we did put a couple of potential cost add pieces in here. And those ones are not included in the costs above, so $700,000 is what we, so the number that we got from the civil engineer, I think, was 1.4 million. And the general contractor numbers were all lower than that. So we ended up pulling some money out of well, when we averaged them, we brought the civil engineer's number down a bit, but that's why we have $700,000 for unknown site factors. We're feeling fairly confident with the $800,000 that we have above, but if we have an absolutely terrible site, we could need some more money for that. And then also, we went ahead and pulled in cost for a 50 kW solar array on the building. This was a cost that we got within the last year, and costs are continually coming down. So it's a good placeholder for right now, but we don't have that included in the costs above, just for, kind of reference and talking point as well.
And I think what is included in the cost as far as solar goes is the building would be a solar ready building. So if you decided to get panels, let's say you could get funding for the building, but maybe not get the full funding, and get that kind of the dream, let's say, the building would be designed in a way that you could basically bring the panels on and plug it in. And it would be ready to tie to the grid and be utilized, you guys utilizing that solar energy created. So it's ready, it would be designed ready for it, but not with panels on it.
Yep. And the next pieces we have in the packet are renderings.
Rendering. So, as I think we talked about early on, we do everything in 3D, with 3D software. So obviously we're working in plan, we've been working in elevation, and this is the end result of kind of those efforts. We do this for a number of reasons. One, to get excited about the building, for everyone to kind of realize the vision. We wanted to express the idea of permanence, using natural materials, and durability and quality of building envelope and things like that. So these are really a great way to express that to people. So for you guys to go out and tell the story of your organization and how it relates to the needs that you guys have, that is why we do this. It also helps us inform costs that we put together and inform the contractor to a quality of construction that you guys would be looking for a long, this is a building that's going to be around 100 years at least. And so we want to make sure that they're understanding that, and not just thinking about slapping up something that won't stand up for 20 years.
Yeah. And the difference between the two versions, we have two versions. One of them has the splash structure holding up the roof. The other one does not. Just to kind of show, hey, like this is the visual impact of, with and without. So I think that that's all that we have for our portion, but we wanted to leave obviously a bunch of time to dive into questions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Question.
I had a question, so. Is the total square footage 8,702? Is that what I'm reading correctly?
Let's go back to the plan. I think it's
8,952.
Yeah, that includes the garage.
Where, okay,
So
so I
that's
see the big, so I see the big number of 8,702. Where's the other number?
so
Yeah.
the next sheet with the floor plans,
Has
Oh, okay.
actual building area.
it has
yeah.
the actual building areas, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's fun.
Are we still at 2 acres?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. We don't think you probably need more unless you guys get more, but 2 acres is plenty to.
Yeah.
Fit the facility and
parking.
parking and stormwater and all that.
Okay, open for discussion. So, you've probably seen some of the communications, but we're now at a point where, obviously, we're a long ways away from getting anything done here, but we're at a point where we're also starting to talk about building versus purchasing options. And we don't have a specific purchase option in mind, but that in our discussions now, beginning discussions with the state and the tribe about how to approach this, we've started to have those discussions. I think Roger and Ethan and I met with tribal finance manager yesterday, and started to pose some of the questions to him, but so there's no specific answer yet, but I think we had a good discussion. I'll let Ethan and Roger sort of talk about that a bit, but to try to engage the state and the tribe together, I think we have longer term thoughts that we need to get together as a group, the board, the tribe and the state, and really have some of this discussion. But there is some staff and board members who plan to meet with a tribal and state representative in Helena, and that's coming up this month, and I don't remember what the dates are. But there's a water conference in Helena that they're going to, and it was tentatively arranged that some folks here would meet with them there and have some more initial discussion with them about some of this planning, but initially to try to press on the question of whether, frankly, they would prefer we look at building or purchasing. There's a lot of discussion to be had, and I think that, as a board, we need to kind of zero in on what answers there are to that. So I've probably said enough of that for now. So regarding the meeting we had yesterday, Ethan, Roger, you guys certainly have any thoughts?
I think you summed it up pretty good. The meeting is October 27th in Helena. I think we'll have a better feel how the funding entities might perceive this then. I don't know what else to say, but we definitely need to start laying some groundwork, but that's that's gonna take a bit of an effort of sorts. So to figure out how we make this kind of a request. So I guess that's about all I have to say. Our meeting yesterday was pretty good. It was very beneficial, so. And I guess I just commend you guys on your work. You did a great job, so it's a nice layout. It looks like you covered all of the bases. Yeah, you did a nice job.
Thank you.
Yes, and Ethan will have I'm sure a few comments, but part, in addition to our meeting yesterday, our meeting in Helena, we're looking forward to how we provide and what information we provide to the parties, the state and the tribe. And part of the planning process for the state is that certainly we need to, if it's gonna happen in this cycle, we need to get information ready for the next legislative session, but there's also I'll probably say it wrong, the executive or administrative budget planning process that we may be able to get into. So I don't know, Ethan, you want to talk a little bit about that and any comments on yesterday's meeting?
My main, comments are a little bit geared towards kind of how we have this thing set up as an agenda item, for you. And so first I'll just sort of start off with the new building planning process. And as you guys know, like even if this isn't what you were to carry forward and request funding about, it would perhaps still be something that could be looked at as like, did this meet the mark of where we were at right now? And so with that, if you will let me, I'll ask, if we needed to look at this plan and take a few of the components out, right? Because and I've talked to you about this before, so, but I'm just kind of leading everybody else in there. Is this building design, the way it sits in this draft, if there's some updated information about funding, is there an option to go into the way you've laid things out right now and pluck some of the components and a few little resizing options if that was necessary?
You want to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, kind of what we've talked about is, reduction of offices. Yes, absolutely. We, can pluck out, some offices and things like that. I think that, obviously the big meeting space, that if that were to get plucked off, I think it would be a different, it should be a different solution kind of altogether for the building. Because I think that the one bar kind of by itself may not make a ton of sense, if that got snipped, but absolutely, if we took out a few offices, that's not a big deal. From our perspective, thinking about that from a cost perspective, if we were to, divide the total project cost by, square footage, and I actually don't know what that number is off the top of my head, but let's say that it's $500 a square foot. We wouldn't be able to take out $500 a square foot for the 1,000 square feet or whatever we take out. It would end up being, $400 a square foot or $350 a square foot that we'd be able to reduce the building cost. And that's just because there are those, like us, the bringing power to a site, that is a fixed, cost, and that does not change if the building, goes down in size by a square, 1,000 square feet or something like that. There's a bunch of things like that that are fixed costs that are not just, associated with the building size, but so yes.
Yes, and I think if there's fees in a project, So we've worked with a lot of organizations, both
Yes.
governmental and well, nonprofit and private, doing this exact exercise and not having a site. And so we design it with intentionality of like, hey, this can be modified. The goal is to create we use the word vibe, which is probably not the most sophisticated word, but a feeling of what the spaces could be to capture people's vision for it, and then also understanding that quality of space and quality of materiality and things like that. But we see this as a very we can manipulate this based on feedback and also site conditions and budget. So, you know, sometimes, especially with nonprofits we've worked with, they come back and they're like, we can only raise funds for, you know, $4 million, not 7. So we work with them to identify what the top priorities are and how to kind of cut where needed. So we would imagine be doing the same thing with you guys, whether you got this full funding or if you got a portion of this funding or the site constraints are different, we would go through those same exercises.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Luke. And I wanted the board to know that if you were to move forward with adopting this plan or a modification of this plan, that you have that ability still. So
Nothing's actually stone.
that, yep, and so that's just something that I wanted to be clear about today's momentum. But what it does do is it does allow for some certainty towards saying this does look a little like what the board would see in terms of a new building. If you go the new building option and you know, character, the larger portion of the components, you know, this would all make sense to the board. So I hope that helps. The other small bit relates to the second item that we have, which is the idea of investigating more on a remodel purchasing option. And
Can we get, let me.
Oh, yes, sir.
Let me just pause there. Anything on this building design question that you wanna, yeah, after the presentation and what Ethan had suggested, any thoughts? I have one, the lower level plan. Is not that I'm proposing it, but is it, generally for that space there, cost effective to keep it at a lower level, or would it be an option to save money to add that as part of the upper level?
So typically basement space is less expensive than main floor space because we don't have building envelope in the same way, you know, in terms of siding, roofing, and the insulation package. And we were also thinking that the building would have a crawl space underneath it. And so it would just be a little bit more excavation. So we think this is the most cost-effective way to get that space. So that would change if you wanted to have occupiable in the space in the basement. For example, if you wanted to have offices down there, it's something that is a regularly occupied space, which would be like an office space, meeting space, even a bathroom, because we would have to do a lift and mechanical needs are different and things like that. So as long as it's the, you know, kind of what we're proposing there, it's the least expensive way.
And that lower level is primarily below the right-hand side of that upper top building design.
Yep, exactly. And I'll see if I can draw on this plan right now, but it is it's this zone in here.
Yeah.
The line was very, I'll make the line fatter so that it's easier to see. It's in that zone right there.
I have a minor question. Would it be possible to increase the font size on some of these pages? I know that, I struggle reading some of this smaller font and, not to be a nit, but.
Yeah.
I think we were hoping to print these for you at some point, when we'll wrapped up.
On 11 by 17.
Yeah, it's supposed to be larger sheet size, but, just doesn't fit, it does not fit very well on that smaller sheet
On
size.
8.5 by 11, yeah,
Yeah.
that's really bad. But yes, absolutely.
You'll be able to read it, I bet then.
All right, thanks. So, and just that'll be something we'll need to.
Ken says, thank you.
Yeah, it'll have to, we'd love to see something that could stay at 8.5 by 11 so that we could, share it easy with folks, but maybe just, we can try to help with the format if you need it, but,
Yeah, I think we should, yeah,
We can do it.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Along the lines of your comments about the lower level versus putting at upper level. So, given the size of the building, I mean, why not? I'm asking it generally.
No.
Not of you specifically, but of us. Why not just do a full basement? And if we did that, realizing that there's certainly a cost to it. Doing that would certainly provide that much more space at presumably somewhat less cost than adding more upper level space.
I think that comes down to use of it. So, as the use of mechanical room storage, if you guys needed more of that space, that is really affordable basement space to make. But as Luke said, if we start making it occupiable for an office, we would have to bring a lift in and then your costs are gonna like exponentially grow. Whether it's an elevator or a lift, but as a public building, we'd have to provide, well, as a B
Access.
occupancy, but definitely we'd have to provide access for, people with wheelchairs. So that's where the cost comes in if you start using it for other
Uses.
uses.
Is it, as it sits, is a lift required?
No,
No,
because they're considered support spaces that we put down there. They're not, yeah, those spaces are not required to be accessible.
And how do you, I mean, just eyeballing it here, so how accessible is the space for moving mechanical things and files involved, storage up and down those stairs?
yeah, we see this often in like a, office building, having stair access only for those type of uses. It's not a big deal for mechanical. I mean, we could even put our mechanical units in an attic space. We don't want to do that, but we could do that. So those ones we're not super concerned with, and don't require that ADA, law required accessibility to them. So.
The mechanical space requires an opening to access it that's 2.5 feet wide by 3.5 feet long. And so the stair is it's a 3 foot wide stair that we have there, and we far exceed the minimum access requirement around that. And then obviously the storage space does not have any special, that could also be in that 30 by 42. Would be terrible for you guys to use.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or thoughts for Ethan continues? When Ken can finally read it, he might have a question.
I'm sorry, Ken.
No. I'm just teasing you. Ethan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So when the board is trying to work through the contemplation of an alternative option such as a purchase and remodel option. Having discussed this with a number of people, it seems like one of the best first steps that would maybe be needed would be to put together, you know, comps of recently sold and moved commercial properties of equivalent square footage arrangement. And so Sarah, Luke, I was hoping you could maybe talk to the board a little bit about what options you might be able to provide in terms of assessing the area on the reservation in terms of what you've seen, what maybe has moved through the market, and what kind of options there might be available.
Can I jump in on that just?
Of course, yes, sir.
So, so our discussion yesterday sort of, you know, Greg Spar sort of raised some of that prospect. And I think it's important probably, not just to get the numbers, but to think about it in terms of how we tell our story. We tell our story to the tribe and to the state and whoever at the state, either administrative or even the legislature at some point. So the question was, throwing it out there yesterday, if we've gone and put this together, which is good, it might be useful to put together some information about what purchase options there might be out there right now. And it was thought that maybe we go out and hire a realtor firm to actually do that for us. Then it was suggested that the question was brought up to that end. What could you do in that regard to put together a sort of a review of what equivalent size and function buildings are out there on the reservation that might be available to purchase, without going into a lot of building assessment, but just getting some initial information about what's out there and what those costs might, you know, purchase costs might be if it's sort of a high level assessment. That's my thought, but anyway, Ethan.
No, I think that's exactly the question I'm trying to throw in your lap. And Mr. Vice Chairman, did you have something to chime in on?
Well, I will, but I'll wait till we hear from Luke and
Sure.
from LOCI.
Yeah, so so yes, we have done that before, and we've done it very often when people are at this point. We do find it helpful to get some information from a realtor, and typically we are not charged for that. So it's, you know, reaching out to a commercial realtor to get in, you know, to have a you know, listing information from MLS is very important. But then oftentimes realtors know of property that was you know, listed in the past that maybe didn't sell and was pulled from the market, or oftentimes they know of someone who is thinking about putting a property on the market. This is a good you know, good realtor kind of, you know, it's their life, and they just talk to people about property all day long. And then we take the information and say, you know, hey, this is this site is, you know, 3/4 of an acre. It's on a steep hillside. Let's never talk about this thing again. We looked at it. It's not a good fit for you guys. Hey, this is, you know, this could be a great fit. Let's look at it a little bit more. This is a great fit. It's way out of your price range. You guys should never, you know, you shouldn't even think about it because it doesn't seem like it would ever make sense for you guys. And then do a synopsis with those. And if there is a property that is identified that looks like it could be a fit, then that's when we would dive in more. And so just that light level, light overview of properties with that MLS information. It is very fast for us to review them. It does not take much. I think if there was a property that looked like a fit, potentially we may want to go visit it. But that's, it just depends on what's out there.
Yeah, Roger.
All right, so I maybe jumped the gun on this, but I know a realtor in Polson that has lived in Polson. She lives in Polson. She's lived there most of her life and is familiar with the Polson market, the reservation and Lake County. And so I asked this lady to do just what you're asking, to give us a real estate survey assessment of what's out there for both land and available buildings. And I directed her to consider everything from Arley to Elmo or Dayton. And, primarily focus on the Highway 93 corridor, but then narrow it down to be more centralized from maybe Ronan to Polson, And so I think we'll get that. So anyway.
Was there gonna be a cost to that?
No, there's no cost. That was the good part.
Yeah. Well, as you were talking, I know one in Polson as well, so if we need a second opinion, we can
Yeah.
get that.
So
A friend of mine was a real.
yeah, and I was gonna say, in line with the potential conflicts of interest, I've never worked with this realtor before, so I'm not sending her work or anything. It's just a blind solicitation.
Yeah, well, maybe that is all we need, so we've got to start on that. Aside from that, if you were to dive into it, would you be looking for a realtor or do you have one in mind?
We would reach out to,
So there's two commercial realtors actually here in Missoula that work all over Western Montana,
yeah,
and their focus is on commercial, so we probably reach out to them. And similar to what you guys just said, it's like a curbside, we always call it like a curbside consult. It's
Yes.
nothing official. But
Yeah,
enough to
yeah.
get information to inform a synopsis, but it sounds
Yeah.
like maybe what you guys are thinking and who you talk to could at least provide the information, and we'd be happy to take a look at it and make kind of a assessment from like a building programmatic standpoint on the listings that they find. That wouldn't be, that would be our next step if we, with that information.
Would it be worth doing it anyway?
yes, yeah, I think you should, yes, I think to get
For
the,
you to go forward and talk to what, the realtor would work with, would it be worth doing that anyway, or just should we wait?
I don't think so, because as long as they're pulling from the MLS, the multiple listing service, everyone will have the same access to the same information. So I actually don't think it's worth it as long as it's coming from the MLS. And then I think when, if you guys do want to go down the pathway of, purchasing a property, this is, obviously way down the road. I think you just do a interview process with a few realtors to decide who you think is a good fit for the organization and go that route. And, the person that Roger talked to, that's, it's fantastic. Realtors know that they're not always selected either, so I would not worry about, I think it's absolutely the right process to do what you did, so that's perfect.
Super, thanks, Roger. Ethan?
I think whatever we get, it'd be nice to have the synopsis for purposes of reporting this as part of the whatever the board's landed on proposal is to send out to the funding parties. And so to me, having something tangible is, I think, needed.
I think as part of your due diligence, and I think also, the state and the tribes, I mean, part of the reason why the tribes end up building a lot of facilities for themselves is that they go down this pathway and the pathway that you're going on right now, and they can't find something that actually works for what their needs are. And yeah, I mean, it would be great if there was obviously something that was on the market that was a good fit that you guys could move into with some modification, but there's not a ton of building stock in your area that we know of that kind of generally fits your needs. So
Yeah, I'm gonna press on the board members just a little bit more here. So I think what's being proposed here is that we accept this draft as something that we use to move our discussion forward, recognizing that things can change depending on funding, depending on location, depending on whether we're talking about building or purchasing, but that this is not etched in stone. So given that, do you want to do that? And I would urge everyone to have, if you've got a question, let's ask now. I want to make sure that we fully vet this as much as we can here before we do take action, which is being proposed here. If you want to hold off and wait a little longer, say so. If you are prepared to move on with taking some action on this today, then I want to make sure that you're really comfortable with doing that. Georgia?
Well, Luke and Sarah, first of all, I think you did an amazing job. I really have enjoyed what you put together. I think it's incredibly thoughtful. I think you really heard us and you heard the staff. So based on that context, I would say definitely I'm very satisfied with what you have put together. I have no idea what the funding parties will agree to. And I know you guys understand that, but in terms of, did you deliver exactly what we asked you to do? Yes, you did, absolutely, and thank you.
thank you.
Ken?
I'm very comfortable with, I like the fact that we all recognize that things can very likely will change to one extent. It's not cast, so that I'm happy with it. I should move forward.
Yeah. Roger?
Yeah, no, I agree with Ken and Georgia. I think you guys did a great job, did exactly what we wanted. My only reticence is that, the cost came in quite high. And I guess that's just the way it is. And as long as we can keep this as a conceptual thing, I'm good with that. I just don't want it misconstrued as this is what we're going after, because I don't think we're ready to do that yet. So,
Yeah, draft and preliminary. Yeah. George?
I'm real comfortable with what you've done. It's real nice work. I like Roger's last comments there. Draft and then go from there. And thank you for all your work.
yeah.
Very much.
Thank you.
The,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Ken?
I'd be curious what you thought.
Yeah, so couple questions. I think there's a consensus that you've given us what we asked for. My opinion is you've given us more than what we asked for, which is great.
Well, thank you.
But so we're trying to narrow down, at least in my mind, was the thought that, what's it gonna cost to develop a final plan? And I think you've given that, but you've also then gone beyond and given really large potential construction cost information.
Yeah.
I think the construction cost information is important, but to me, the priority is on this, estimated project cost, your architectural design of the facility upfront. And, getting to where we have a site that you can plan to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To me, that puts, to me at least, that puts the initial ask, and I think we sort of characterize, if we were to think about it and characterize this as not the ask, but that our initial ask would be more toward the 540. I think that if we had that, if we were moving down the path of building, then we could use that to produce a final design, push to getting the site and use that to produce that final design, and then we'll have actual numbers. Because while these numbers in large are good estimates, you know, based on their experience, their review, it's that number in my mind that I think we need to really, you know, they're gonna look at this and go, oh my goodness, 7 point what? But I think the initial ask has got to be zeroed in on that 540. If we did that, is that 540 what we need to ask for?
Yes. Yes, there's a couple other things that we would want to include in, so like a survey and geotech, we would want to have at the beginning of the project, which is included in that 800. So there's the two numbers. I'll just pull up the sheet. So the short answer is it gets us, it would get you very far down the road. Let me just share. Sorry, I forgot to share. I'm not a very good sharer sometimes with my screen. So looking at these soft costs, you know, these are your initial costs that you would be incurring. But we would want to get the geotech investigation and then the site map complete early on as well. And we could, we have numbers, I think, actually for both of those that we could.
Yeah, the geotech's a little bit dependent on the site,
The
but
site,
we have,
some allowance numbers.
yeah, we have some allowance numbers we could give. I think it's, I mean, it's less than 30,000 for those two.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good to estimate those numbers added to that 540, because I think to me, thinking about this, we're not gonna submit this, even though we're talking about submitting it in a budget planning process and say, gee, you know, we're asking for $8 million. I think initially, to me, the initial ask is that, but maybe I'm reading this wrong, and you can all tell me if that's the right way to think about this, but that was my thought. Otherwise, yeah, I think it's great.
I think that's what you had, one of the things identified in your RFP for this project was exactly that, like, what's it gonna cost to get us into construction, not the cost of construction. So, you're exactly right, it's that 540, we'll get you numbers on a site survey in geotech as an allowance. And then, you know, it's gonna be less than 600 total, for all those.
The ask, yeah.
The ask. So I think that is your initial ask. I think it's good knowing overall project costs, so you guys have it as a board in your mind, but I think it's really that design fee that was that initial piece that you guys wanted.
Yeah. That,
I really appreciate you reframing it that way, Clayton. That helped me think about that differently, because honestly, Sarah, look, I did see the big number and it scared me, not gonna lie, it scared me a little bit. So that helps to have that reframe.
Yeah.
It scared us too.
Every time we do this, we're like, really?
Yeah, because you know, like both Sarah and I have been practicing for, you know, over 20 years each. And like just in the last 5 years, the construction costs have kind of gone bonkers. And it just, there's a piece of it that just doesn't feel right. Just to be quite frank about it, like it just doesn't feel right. And it's unfortunately the realities that we're in right now. So
And I think the other piece to remember, a lot of the people that you're asking for, like tribes and the state are building buildings more often than you guys are, and are probably seeing, well, in fact, we know like the tribes are seeing some numbers because we talked to a contractor building something right now for them. And so they have seen numbers like this, so they may not be, if you were to talk overall project costs, it's probably not as surprising as it is to you guys, because you guys haven't taken this on as a board. But it is a big number.
it is big.
I wish I could make it less.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
So, until you provide some your estimate of survey and geotech and add to the 540, we could say 540, between 540 and 600 would be that initial. And I think that's important for you folks that are going to be meeting with the folks in Helen.
Yeah.
To, when they see this, is to really sort of bring it back down to, what we initially need right now. We're not asking, so that as they proceed, they might, they're gonna flip out but even if they don't, and they say, well, let's use this as a sort of broad planning number, 6 million or whatever it is, and start to at least have that conversation. They're gonna get a lot of pushback on that, but our initial ask right now to get to a final number has got to be that, so that we can actually say, all right, we have that, let's get them to work, and we need to push on the state and the tribe to find a location. Now, that's all based on going down the path of building. And so getting the information from the realtor is gonna be really, really critical, and the sooner we can get that, the better. And if we had something in hand before the meeting in Helen, I think that'd be ideal.
We will.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We can get you it this week.
I should have my stuff next week.
That'd be great. Yeah, that's great. Great. Okay. So, anything more, folks? Anything more you'd like to scare us with?
Oh gosh, I hope not. But I think the other part of the message is like, hey, as you guys are prepping for the meeting later this month and stuff like that, feel free to reach out to us and kind of bounce questions off of us as they come up. We can also look at the MLS information. I think from that we could also say, hey, we think this is 4 hours of time, because in all honesty, if there's 2 properties on that list versus 28 properties on that list, it's a very different amount of time for us to look at those. So let's just kind of keep the communication open, I think, is what our goal is. And then obviously, yeah, let us know if you need more stuff from us too.
Just a quick question maybe for you and Roger. So Roger, your realtor, does she have enough info? Does she have this document? If not, would it be worthwhile putting her in touch with LOCI so that they talk a bit before she does her research?
Yeah, or if the board's okay with it, I can forward this to her. I told her we were meeting today and we're gonna discuss this initial plan, and to give her, it would help to know now that we've got, between 1.5 and 2 acre requirements, things like that.
Size of buildings, square footage.
Exactly, yeah,
that information.
so this would be really helpful to provide the realtor.
And as long as it's kept, we notify that it's kept confidential, I think that's,
Okay.
I mean, does that, George?
I'm fine with it. It's
I'm fine with it. Would you be comfortable divulging her name?
Oh, yeah, It's Robin Wallace with Berkshire Hathaway.
I know.
Okay.
Uh,
I actually met her at when 3.5 years ago, when Rob and I with Donald gave
We're
a
doing
presentation
research
to the
for
real
planning,
address. Yeah, I met her there.
Yeah,
But I've not had any business doing this.
Pardon me?
I have not had any business doing this.
Yeah, I have.
okay, anything else? On this, anything else on this? Anything else from you folks?
Not from us.
We're good.
All right, well, likewise, if you have more questions for us, just give Ethan a call and we'll do our best.
Yeah, once we get some information, we'll forward it on to you.
Okay,
Perfect.
great.
I just like the idea that we're moving something forward. I just think that, I know it's gonna take time. We might be, another year or two down the road before things actually happen. But I think it's important to get this started and we may be able to move things along even quicker. Yeah, Ken.
Do we have to take action today?
That's the question I pose. We don't have to, but if you want, that's what's being proposed, and I think that's the question. You wanna adopt this draft
I do.
for working purposes now. And so, all right, are you making the motion?
Okay. I think the board adopt the LOCI design for the new building.
Motion by Kim,
I'll second.
second by Georgia, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
It's now public
it's
information.
now public information and, draft.
Public
Concept.
draft information, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, thank you guys, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
It was great seeing you all.
We've done that, what we didn't, the other item on here was approve additional LOCI work for a remodel option. I think it's a little premature for that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we need that action, so, all right, so we have done this, done this justice, thank you.
Hey,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank
We'll,
you.
we'll dive off and enjoy the rest of your meeting.
All right, thank you. All right, guys, good job.
Yeah.
Good job, thank you. All right, All right, item number 4, so I guess we could do this one of a couple ways. Recognizing that all of these items, 4.2.1, 4.2.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and 0.5 have all gone out for 15-day public comment, and there was only one comment received on 4.2.5. I can go down these individually and take action, or we can just try to take them all in one action. But we need to have the discussion about the one comment received. So how would you like to proceed?
Why don't we discuss the one comment we received and then do them all at once?
All right, makes sense to me. Good?
Yeah.
Good with that? All right. Comment received. What do we got?
Mr. Chairman, board members, one of the, water policies and procedures, sections, which is the, WPFP 22-1012 is a, new notice / request to replace a point of diversion. It does include a draft form that we'll get to in a minute. As a reminder, this is a process that's needed if somebody who owns an existing permit or statement of claim needs to replace their existing point of diversion instead of having to go through the large and encumbered full-on 606 change process. This is a mini change authorization just to replace that point of diversion. It's predominantly designed so that if a point of diversion washes out or has some other kind of ill construction fate, that it can be modified in fast order. The one comment that we did get was from, an individual who prompted the need for this policy, who has a point of diversion that they do need to move. And it will be on the same source, it will be a lateral movement. Their request was pretty limited. I will go ahead and read it to you in its entirety. This is from Paul Bishop, who is, got this to say, this email is my public comment regarding the proposed WPMP 22-1012 replacement point of diversion language. The only suggestion I have would be to reduce the OE response time for a change request from 60 to 30, and then parenthetically, or 45 days. Today's projects are always under severe delivery schedules or have other time pressures. Any little bit can help a lot. That's just my view from this side of the fence. Thanks. Mr. Chairman, the office contemplated this, this request, and, the water engineer, is, willing to make a shift to, 45 days. I believe that, I won't speak for Haley, but I believe she was in, alignment with that. She can chime in if that's different. The one reason I'm hesitant to go at 30 days is, as you'll see, on the form, certain types of, POD replacements may involve, getting waivers from other water users who have points of diversions that are near. And I would like to have, you know, a little time, and then, additionally, I think, well, I'll just let Haley, jump in and make sure that I haven't misspoken.
I don't have anything to add. The 45 days is fine. I don't want the office to get into a bind where it doesn't have enough days to review something, properly and efficiently. So, you know, having it be, like 30 days would probably be too, small amount of days for review. So 45 days is probably the lowest I would recommend.
Comments?
45 days is fine. I'm okay.
I have a question. Can we make it either or? And leave it, give the option of either 45 days or 60 days to the engineer, depending on the application that comes in? That way, if we're at 45 days and you get one that's like, oh my God, I wish I had a few more days, because it's really complicated, or you can't contact people. I'm just thinking out loud here, would it be unreasonable for the board to consider that kind of option from a legal standpoint?
No, I mean, I think the way you phrase that would be, you know, we'll review within 45 days, with, you know, with the ability to extend, that review period. I think some reasonable basis, case by case basis.
Not to exceed 60 days type of thing.
Sure.
Would, I mean, that's a thought, so any questions, thoughts on that? Ethan, what do you think about that?
That is absolutely manageable, Mr. Chairman. We can make that modification, and you can include that in your action item.
Well, do we need, if we do that, do we put that back out for public comment?
Yeah, let me go back out. I also was confused too, because I think both option 1 and option 2 went out, and then it's like, well, what are we doing?
Yeah, that was my question.
I
Like,
think
what are,
whatever one the board chooses here, with the addition of that language, doesn't need to go back out.
So we can approve all those that have no comment now, and then take another action to put that out, that language out for a 15-day public review, is that correct? Okay, all right. So if you,
so there are, like Haley said, there's an option 1 and an option 2. on this then, I guess, do we need to decide on one of those two so that we,
Well, if it's okay with you, let's take action on the ones that have no comments. And then focus on the 10B-1012.
okay,
And what language we want to put back out for public comment, all right?
yep, okay.
So we need to, so we're ready, so are there any public comment? We are going to take action on, items 4.2.1 through 4.2.4.
Yep.
Since they have gone to 15-day public comment and there were no comments received, we're ready to approve those unless the board has other comments or changes to those. That's the action we need right now. So, if you're ready, I'll take public comment. So there is no public in the audience here today. Anybody online?
No problem.
No public online, so there is no public to comment. So, I'll leave it to the board to decide if you are ready to take that action or do something else.
Mr. Chair, I move that we take action to approve sections 4.2.1, 4.2.2, 4.2.3, and 4.2.4 of the WPNP.
Second.
Motion by Georgia, second by Ken, and those numbers that are listed are actually, agenda item numbers, which is fine, because I think that covers it. Motion by Georgia, second by Ken, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Hearing none. Okay, those are approved. All right, we need to decide on the language we want to put out for final, for another 15-day review for 22-1012.
Ethan, what's the difference between your two options?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, board members, you actually, I'm a little confused because the, thing that should have been posted would have just been the one option. You did actually make this decision. And you chose to put out the option, which is, the request. And, so we may have had a clerical error here that I'm trying to figure out.
Well, based on what we talked about, and we just modify one of them and put something back out.
That's a great case.
Where is the thing that was from? Why isn't that's not what's in the packet? The packet has the one that has both options. So I must have gotten the packet wrong.
So, let me ask this question.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, we're just sort of having a little
Yeah, let me ask this question. So,
clarification over here.
we're at, it's about 2:30 now, been going since noon, the board's been going since noon. We want to take a break and give Roger, Ethan, Haley a chance to come up with some language here and then come back, or are we good?
No, I think, what Ethan said is we decided on one, but yet it needs to be changed, like Haley says, from 60 days to that revised language of 45 to 60 days. So it needs to go back to public notice anyway.
Yes.
So
Yes,
I'd say just let's send it back to public notice, and that's good.
but what language? We need to approve the language. That's all I'm asking for, is let's get the language down so that we can approve what that language is.
I thought you just mentioned that it would be,
I verbally, but let's get
okay.
the exact language down
okay,
so that we can take action on that. That's my suggestion.
sounds good to me.
That's why I was saying, do we need to take a 1 minute, take a break? We now have time for a break. All right, let's do that and give you guys a chance to finalize that language and we'll come back and look at approving it. All right, great. All right, so we're back and we want to, review some language for 22-1012, so.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before we
Ethan.
review language, I have collected my thoughts over the break. Thank you for the timely break. I appreciate that. We have put in front of you the actual language that was posted. It appears that when we made your packets, we inadvertently put in the version that you looked at to decide what to send to public notice, which is our apologies on that. That said, also, I had a little time to consider the updated language. What you were discussing was, we'll complete it by 45 days, but may extend it up to 60. And, in light of the opportunity to extend it up to 60, what I'd like to change my recommendation. And I understand where you're coming from, and I think that actually we should just leave it at 60 so we can move these WPMPs. I do know that the particular person who commented has an expeditious need to get their point of diversion moved. And if we could extend it up to 60, we could equally just move applications faster, which we typically do anyway. And so maybe setting just the fixed rate of 60 days and, you know, knowing that we will process things the way that we typically do, which is quite timely. We almost never get up to close to our deadlines unless there's a complication. And so, given the fact that it's not going to be a moved fixed to 45-day, I am going to encourage the board to consider just sticking with the original language and passing the package so that we can look towards moving the form as well. That said, I understand if you would prefer to have the alternative language go back out to 15-day notice.
I heard you, but what went out for public review? Was it that language or was it both?
Mr. Chairman, the language in the printout stapled in front of you, if you'll look towards the page 6 of 7, it's under 22-1012. It actually does say only replacement point of diversion, and that is the language that went out for public comment, and that is the language that has that we will process it within 60 days of receiving it. And, you know, for a couple of reasons, the main one being it's a minor change to move it to 45 days, but allow us to extend it to 60. I say, you know, we could just stick with this language and know that our office will internally strive to get these done faster than even the 45-day.
Comments?
So if we don't change it, we don't have to.
We have to change the language, we just go ahead and approve it.
Okay.
I got one other question. So it's, I don't know, may be substantive and may not be. But under both WPMP 21-112 and WPMP 22-101, it's the 2 and 2. Shouldn't those be 1 and 1? I'm surprised Ken didn't catch that.
Or is there a
Okay.
one and one that just didn't get printed here? You look anything?
I'm looking, yes. Sorry, I was just quietly doing that. I should have said something out loud.
Good catch. Let's take a look. While they're looking, any thoughts on Ethan's updated recommendation? Roger?
I kind of like revising the language to 45 days because it shows that we've taken in public comment into account. And
45 with the option of extending.
yeah, so I'm using the revised language, so. I think it shows the public that we're hearing them.
Don't we always have the option of extending? if there's
Yeah.
something?
Oh, Alexander.
So is that necessary to state, I guess?
We don't always have the option to extend.
Yeah.
No, and the 2-2-101 is the section under permit and change application process. Is that the section that you're talking about?
Well,
You think that 2-2-101 should be something different?
no, where it says WPMP 21-1122. And then there's a 22-1012. The question we asked was, is there a one?
Oh, there is a one, but the one has already been adopted.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So we only-
you just didn't print it, you just printed what we're changing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that was.
Okay.
For the one.
Sorry for my confusion on what which.
No, good question. So George, any thoughts on the updated recommendation?
Well, if you do change it to 45 with the option to do 60, that seems fine to me.
I like Roger's rationale.
Same.
Okay, the only minor catch is by extending this, that puts the timeframe for Ethan to approve the standing application a little further out, which is the way it is.
As far as I know, there isn't one that has been submitted because the.
Just
form-
waiting for this. Yeah,
Right,
that's true.
but there's not one pending with the office.
There's a need for it. And he was waiting for the policy and the.
So
form to
another,
get approved.
okay, I misunderstood,
Right.
but, all right, so we have, yes, Georgia?
I'm just trying to make sure I understand this. So if we approve with no change, we satisfy the gist of the public comment in a better way than if we send it back out? Because he needs this done sooner than later.
Well, I thought there was a pending application, there is not, he just said there's somebody waiting for our policy to get done. What Rogers.
Okay.
There's a
the other
pending
comment
project
was
that-
actually, by adopting the 45-day language, is responsive to the comment.
Well, that's
By
why I,
not changing it,
Okay.
and we're not being responsive, we're just saying keep it at 60, so.
gotcha.
It's either 45 with an option to go to 60, or we stay at 60 and just take action.
Well, I wanted to do whatever was most responsive to like the one person who's actually written in on something, so, okay.
And then if we do that, then we do need to go back out to 15-day public comment. That's the reason for that. So we're gonna take action either to approve or go back out to 15-day comment.
Go back in.
You have to
I
read
mean,
it? Okay.
you do, I mean, but it's not like any, with the option to extend. 45 days with an option to extend is no different than just saying 60 days. I mean, it's the same effect. Yeah, they're not gonna have any additional guarantee that that application is gonna be reviewed by a certain time frame. That's something less than 60.
All right, Haley, you had drafted the language or added the language. You want to go ahead and just cover that so we're clear on what that is, and then we can make a decision. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that sentence in two that starts with upon receipt would be where the changes would be. So it'd be upon receipt, the OES 45 days from receiving and date stamping to review the request, but may extend the review period up to 60 days.
All right. So it's one or the other, and if somebody wants to make a motion, then we'll vote on
I guess I still prefer to make the modifications. I'll make a motion that we use the revised language and go back out to public notice for 15 days.
it. Motion by Roger,
I'll second.
and by Georgia. So I'll just go around in favor, one by one, Roger, Georgia? Yes, Jen?
Yeah.
Roger?
Yeah.
George? Yes, okay, oh, yes, we're good, we're through. So that language is gonna go out for 15-day public meeting. All right. Point three, form 644F.
Mr. Chairman, because we don't have policy passed under, 22-1012, I do urge you table form.
Would you say that again?
So you'll see under the, agenda that if, 22-1012 passes, then you should contemplate passing the form, but we do not have policy for the POD replacement, so I do suggest you table the form, because,
Will the form change?
yes, it has, a deadline for receiving, and responding.
They'll be revised and we'll review at the next meeting,
Yes, sir.
or the next, or when the 15-day comment.
And the other 15-day comment.
Okay.
If you, pass the policy, you'll have an updated form for your consideration.
Okay, good, good. All right, we're good, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
before you head off to number 5, 4.1 was skipped over, and I think it'd be a great opportunity to hear from, both board members, Roger and George, just on an update.
Thank you for the catch, yes, we did, my fault. Thank you, 4.1, the permit and change work group update.
Well, I guess I had planned on have to marshal my thoughts here. We've had 4 meetings, I guess, on this permit and change work group updates. It's the committee consists of 4 staff members. George and myself are board members, and a representative from the DNRC and 2 from the CSKT. I think we've made considerable progress, and we've laid out the baseline analysis of the direction that we're heading, with some priority towards trying to bring municipal and water districts current, to get them permitted. And Ethan's been working hard on policy language. Don't have anything yet finalized. There is one thing that was good was there is a component in the water that addresses water quality in the compact for permits and changes. And that was basically, we're gonna use the language that we've already adapted for the compact water. So that seemed to be agreed upon by all the parties. I guess we're just still chugging along. The office staff has a very large task in front of them. And that two tasks actually. I think Dustin is working on trying to quantify what available surface water is still available, if any, to be used for either new permits or for mitigation water. So hopefully Dustin is working as diligently and focused on that with most of his efforts, because that's a big thing. We gotta have that piece of information before we move forward. The other big thing is, like I said, Ethan is working on the language. He's got some draft language that's really draft. So at probably their next meeting, I hope we'll have some final draft language maybe to review. We're kind of on hold now. We had our 4 meetings. Some people are taking vacation this month of October. Some people are going to the water law conference, so there's kind of a hiatus. We're gonna resume in November, pick this up again when everybody's available again, and then at that point, hopefully we'll have gelled some things and we can bring that to the board also, or bring an update to the board. I don't know if we'll have policy available ready by then or not, but anyway, that's a terse summary. George, you got anything you want?
Yeah, for me, it's been really interesting, the information that's being exchanged back and forth from the people that know all this information. It's kind of overwhelmed me a little bit, but I'm hanging in there and I find it pretty interesting, and there is a lot of work going on.
Yeah. Ethan, you got anything you want to add?
Oh, I thought you did a good job, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Haley?
No, I think it was a good summary. It's a good working group. I think there's a lot of experience, within the working group, so that's great. Yeah, as Roger kind of said, this is, it is not, the policy is not undergone any sort of legal review or scrutiny. So that's also a next step before it would come to the board.
I think it's been advantageous in that we have one member from the DNRC that has worked a lot with permits and changes and can walk us through some of the pitfalls of their regulations, so that's been really helpful. And then Seth has been involved, and so he's worked a lot on the compact and brings a lot of historic knowledge and information to the committee also. So it's a very good committee, I'd say.
I don't suppose you have your hands full, Dustin, trying to figure out availability of surface water, though. I heard that one, so I'm curious, just
Well, no,
high level overview,
Sure,
what
yeah.
are you thinking about that?
well, I mean, I think Ethan and I need to get together and so I can get a better direction on where to go next, but what I did last week, was just put a really, I guess, a real cursory look at, post Creek, Crow Creek and the Jocko River, and just kind of see what's available. And, I mean, they're all running a deficit. I mean, basically, when you take the in-stream flows into account, they're all, over allocated.
They're all what?
Over allocated. Again, that was just really rough, but it was still following the same protocols that we would to do a more detailed analysis. I was just making some broad assumptions, and if we were to go into a detailed analysis, what you'd find is that there'd be less water. So, I mean, it kind of told a pretty good story, so.
Yeah.
And I think the thought is that if we do move forward with some major decisions around this, then I would go into more detail. We would really start digging into the abstracts, doing a lot more of the tedious work to get some better, more refined numbers.
Yeah, and I assume that the data has to be, I mean, we're working on the database, so that's going to contribute a lot to what data you have reciting. what the demand is on the demand, on the demand side.
Well, I mean, there's I'm pulling from all the abstracts and seeing what people have the legal right to right now, and then,
Just accessing the state database. Okay.
I guess let me just add a little piece to that, that might also be a factor and, you know, maybe a conversation that the three of us need to have in his consideration of these legal demands, but, you know, a lot of these water rights are gonna be entering into the basin adjudication process. And I've reviewed all the issue remarks, as due diligence for the board. There's a lot of over appropriated water rights, within the two basins. And so as those water rights move through, the water court, there might be reductions in what the volume, flow rate, place of use, conversion, anything like that, given those issue remarks. So the picture might not look 100% accurate right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
yeah, and the stuff I did was actually not, I guess the other factors, when I looked at it, the FIP water is just, I would just need a little bit of help in trying to interpret, like it crosses watershed boundaries all over the place, so I didn't even look at that. I didn't even look at the FIP stuff, and it's still over allocated, so yes, we may get some reduction, but then when we take the FIP water into account, I can't, I mean, it's hard to imagine there being any available, to be honest.
Hard to imagine what.
There being any available.
Okay.
Well, really, really long-term thinking though, then what are the, you know, board needs to think about what are the implications of that? In whether we drive it or someone drives it, I imagine like with groundwater management areas, there may be moves to close basins. But we're, like I said, we're a ways off from that, but if that's the case, if those are the facts. Either that or you're issuing permits to people who may not have any actual water. You meet those permits.
Just also, it would be a little different than that as chairman, because we would be denying permit applications based on lack of legal availability one at a time, as opposed to having a generalized understanding that there's a closure status, so. It would,
Yeah, we may not have the authority, but if
the difference is, kind of like how somebody finds out about the lack of water availability.
Yeah.
And do they know up front that they need to mitigate, you know, because we have identified areas, or do they go through the process, one application at a time?
Yep.
We've had some discussion also on how we could approach using some of the compact water for mitigation for net depletions, you know.
Just by the river,
Yeah,
yeah,
so we're,
I can see that coming.
yeah, so we're making progress, but we run into some hurdles.
All right, so we don't need to take any action on the Form 644F, so. Any other comments, questions?
Nope.
So. All right, budget. Do we have a budget?
So I just recently put 2 copies down, a 2026 budget that has been discussed by our budget committee this morning. And then I threw together a 2027 budget on recommendations from the water engineer. So that's my little segue to let somebody take it from there. Unless you would like to have me discuss the 2026 budget.
Sure, go ahead and lead off with that.
Okay, in the 2026 budget, we have a 3% COLA. I know that figure isn't necessarily a going to be going up, could potentially go down. So I left it at the 3%, because it's still in discussion. There's not a lot of changes here in the 2026 budget from the 2025 budget. There's some changes, and some increases where we needed to, increase. And if you want me to, I can actually provide some clarity. The last budget for 2025 was 1,360,000, and this proposed budget for 2026 is 1,444,000. So it's not a major increase. We did see some items that needed to have a little bit more in the line item. We also have some raises in the 2026, promotional type raises in the 2026 budget. And then if you, have any questions on that before I switch over to the 2027?
Yeah, let's, so does that number, I mean, because we've been talking about this budget, especially state budget planning process. And we're going to be seeking an increase.
Sure.
Does that number reflect everything that we discussed?
So this number, the 1.4 is for 2026, assuming, well, it's not assuming, we have the appropriation money of 1.1 coming in. We have some vacancy savings from 2024 and this current fiscal year of 2025. We don't have a finalized number, but we feel pretty confident that it should come in at about 175,000 for 2025 for vacancy savings. So we take into consideration when we put this 2026 budget together. We wanted to build it out so we can still kind of expand and cover employee costs, and also utilize those vacancy savings and carryover from the prior 2 years. So with 2027 being a new year, that's kind of where the budget committee just kind of, told Ethan, what's your wish list? We'll put that on paper and we'll discuss it today in the board meeting. So that's kind of just a little brief synopsis. Hopefully that kind of provides enough clarity of what's kind of happening at the budget committee meetings. But I do want to underscore that I did not get a chance to print this out, and I apologize. We have got a change in interest rate on our money market account from 1% to 3%, and that was effective last week. And so we are going to see some potential increase of interest income also. So there's other things that are kind of happening that we need to take care of this month. Getting the 2026 budget would be one of those items that if we did get that infusion of funds, we can start making interest income on that immediately. So just no pressure.
Yeah. Ryder? Did you have something?
Yeah, so. Yeah, I think. So Ron is correct in that we're trying to come up with something that we could take to these funding agencies and discuss with them for the 2026 funding cycle. So this budget basically addressed most of those concerns. We are operating, well, if all the positions were filled, we would be operating at a deficit. All the positions aren't filled, so there is vacancy savings things, but we're also looking at by the 20th, Rhonda's hoping she can have the fiscal year 2025 closed out, and then we'll know exactly where we're at. But we were also looking at we've identified 5 reserve accounts that we want to have for future money available, and those include a general liability fund, which is $50,000, a legal services / litigation fund of $100,000, the PTO cash out, we assigned $50,000, and then we have a reserved for operations, just in case the funding doesn't come through. We were gonna have 3 months of funding available so that we could operate. And if there was a delay in getting funding. So that number totaled roughly, depending upon what number we used for our operations, but 560,000. And we think we can balance that number with, we had $323,000 and 863 in carryover from 2024. We're estimating roughly 175, maybe more, for the 2025 carryover, which is basically $500,000. So there, that almost becomes a push for building our reserve accounts out, so that when we go to the funding agencies, even though we've shown that we did have money we didn't spend, that that money is earmarked for future appropriations. But then back to this budget, so yeah, this thing is the budget that we generated if we have everything built out as on this piece of paper. So we're $304,000 essentially over our funding limit, which is a 27% increase. That's the amount that we intend to take to the funding agencies and ask if that's a doable
That increase,
increase. Yes.
304,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for too.
So that's where we're at. We're gonna, once Rhonda has the numbers rolled up, we're gonna reconvene and look at those, and we'll have final numbers then to present. The 2027 budget is, Ethan has added in some more positions and other things, and I'll let him, this is his concept, so I'll let Ethan speak to that one.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, board members, what I've done is kind of thought about how our office operates today and what kind of resources we might need and some enhanced, funding options. One was nice enough to get those, worked out in this, 2027 budget that she handed you. Let's go over the notable changes that we have that are, up for discussion. In the staffing level, we would be looking at, 3 additional positions. The, one would be office manager. Another being an additional water resources specialist. And a third being accounting tech. Then we've got, we go down the line, we've got the option to increase our contract services for legal.
And we'll be looking for maybe a more final number from Haley on that one.
And then we get down to an expense for what I was calling technology and enforcement. It's listed here as drone and computer purchases and kind of all lumped together. So at about $10,000 a year, I think we need to have an amount of money so that we can move forward on some major technological upgrades that are needed, specifically like this office supplier, an IR drone with licensing. And that would be something that we do on one year, and then the following year, we need to, invest in evapotranspiration mapping technology. Those 2 items are kind of the cutting edge purposes of handling water rights in terms of enforcement, assessing permits and changes, those types of things. Additionally, this has got an amount of money in there to pick up. We're at an age right now where we should start considering surplusing some of the computers that were purchased, when the board first gathered, and move those out, and bring in new computers, which would, include the computers that the board uses. So that's what that additional fund is all about. I think there's some ways if those things come online where we could reduce some of the other expenses. I'm still working through that, but maybe as much as, 90 or 90, more than 90,000 that I think we could reduce if we have these additional positions. But that's sort of fluid so far.
So this revised budget of Ethan's then for 2027 represents an increase of nearly $662,000 or a 58% increase. And the other one was 304 and 27%. So it's pretty substantial. And I guess the board needs to decide which one do you want to use to address the funding entities? Or both, or what?
Yeah, well, 26 gets us to, 26, when's the session? I mean, so timing wise, what, what needs to go into the executive planning? State executive planning.
The 2027 budget needs to go into the executive planning process, and it will be one of 3 EPP items that the state wants to see from us. The first one will be the building that we've talked about. The second one will be wireless water right information system updates that will be funded solely by the state, to my understanding. And then the third one would be our operations enhancements, not listed here in any. If I was going to list them in terms of importance, I would list them in the opposite pathway, so that the operations increase would be first, wireless second, and the building third.
And the DNRC isn't looking at it that way. The DNRC is looking at it as wireless is the number 1. Our operations are number 2, and the building is number 3. That's their initial perception anyway.
They would, because they're on the hook for that,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's, that task.
Yeah. And I don't know what that number is.
Well, we've already talked about the building discussion, and then this represents the operational discussion.
For what it's worth, I think roughly I could probably end up making this so it's a 51.5% increase, but I will offer that is, these increases after we do some additional adjustments, I think are possible. The expansion on this with these 3 positions would be a 19.6% increase from what you're looking at for the 2026 budget. And so the way that if you lump all of the increases together, it looks a little more daunting, but when you realize that, we probably should have acquired an increase back for the 25-26 period, which is why we're in the red a little on the 2026 budget, then it makes a little bit more sense.
Comments, I guess thoughts are going to, we need to put forward what we think we need.
Well,
And the question is, do we need all this? And if we, you know, if we do, fine. If we don't absolutely think we need it all, I'm wondering if it's a good place to start for negotiating. I mean, because I don't understand that executive process. Do we just give them a number and they just decide whether they run it? It's either a yes or a no, or is there an opportunity to negotiate a bit? I just don't know how that all works.
I don't either. I guess that's what we're gonna find out maybe too when we meet with someone. But, I guess when when the budget committee built out the 2026 budget, I kind of felt that that's the budget we were building to take to the funding agencies for the $304,000 increase, which is 27%. To me, that was still pretty substantial. If we go, I have some real reticence taking an increase of 58% to them. That's more than half of what our existing budget is. So I can't imagine that would be well perceived.
Does what we submit, do you think, depend on what their process is? I'm just thinking out loud here, if it's negotiable, then maybe we start there and this becomes our starting point, this becomes this is where we will end up. I'm just throwing it out, I don't know, otherwise we throw this in there and then it becomes either a yes or no.
Yeah, so just as a reminder, the process with the executive budget starts as early as spring 2026. So agencies, and as a reminder, the budget is for the agency. So it's the entity that's submitting their projected budget and costs to the governor's office. So we are a line item in DNRC's budget, meaning that it is their budget, it is their choice what to take forward. So even with what we suggest as a potential increase, they could flat out say no. So there is that possibility. The other reminder is that this was a negotiated amount to be split between the tribes and DNRC. And so that, you know, this increase would also need to be floated by tribal council as well to see if they could cover the half of the increase and if they're willing to do that or not.
Was it part of our thought then that when we meet with the folks in Helena, that this would be part of it?
Well, no, I
Part of the
don't. I,
discussion?
based on what Haley just said, I think we've got some time. I think I just wanna broach to them that we're gonna want a budget increase.
Yeah.
I don't think I wanna bring a number to them at this time.
Okay.
I think we need to, Ethan's got 3 new positions in here. I think we as a board need to sit down and look at each of those positions and decide if we wanna fund them, you know?
Decide where we're going, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have 2 new positions in there, the finance director added the accounting tech. I also am wondering, you know, if we're moving more services, in-house, does that affect some of our other line item contract services under accounting? And, you know, what we have here is we have all the additions with no reductions. So, that said, though, I do think it's a valuable conversation to have too.
I think it's
Yes.
important to see that. The question is, where do we end up? And I think, you know, Roger's right, and I think we do have time. So given that we're looking at spring of 2026, that things need to be really ready to move forward. We should still stay on some sort of schedule to hone this down.
To be clear, though, the NRC wants to see stuff way before that. Yeah, that is like,
Well, when
We need-
is way before that?
like they would take this information yesterday.
Yeah, they're already starting to plan for their
Yeah.
line items in the fall this year. The spring 2026 deadline is when agencies start submitting their executive budgets to the governor's office. So it's actually more of like that's like a part of kind of deadline. Conversations need to be having as early as next month.
So we need to hold this down, then the question is, what is the timing for us to give them a number?
I think we should try to get this done by next month. Like, we should have the building estimate, we should have the 2027 budget estimate and be ready to say, here's what we think, and then write up, not only would it need to be this budget, but I would need to be providing significant justification narratives for budget and for the building both. You know, to help explain all of these, because that is gonna be a story that has to be told by the board.
So when you say next month, so what's, you know, we're at October 7, so we'll be looking at the middle of November to be settled on some of these numbers, or at least close. And how does that, what are you thinking? If we do that, I mean, does that fit some kind of planning scenario?
I guess I was thinking at least by more toward the end of November, there's a lot of evaluation and assessment that we need to do here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what our timing is, so, yeah, but even if we say end of the month, I mean, that's end of November, that's, you know, fine, we got a target.
We could try that.
I guess I wish I knew a little more about how to strategize more effectively before we present this. In other words, how do we come up with a number? We come up with a set of items that we know that we need, that maybe we bargained for. But do we get to bargain? Do we get to negotiate? Or is it, you just turn it in and that's it? That's the part I don't understand.
Well, that was what I was asking, I mean,
Yeah, and I think that's an important bit of information to have before you prioritize, because we don't know if we get to, at least I don't know, maybe someone here does. Do we get to present a suite of options with a list of priorities? Or do we just get a one shot at this and here's our number and can you meet it?
maybe we can learn more about that at the Helena meeting, is that part of what we need to try to flesh out?
It is.
Yeah, I mean, that was the intention of having that meeting too, is to discuss those kind of priority items with both of the representatives of the compact parties there.
Yeah.
And then additionally, Roger and I are planning on meeting with Kristen Juris as well to get kind of her understanding of what it would look like to, be included in the executive budget of the governor's office, and just what her timeline is, suggestions are, concerns, anything along those lines.
And remind us who that is.
She's lieutenant governor.
There you go. Shows how much I pay attention to that.
But I mean, from my understanding of this, because we do have, you know, 2 attorneys that are lobbyists full-time, in the session. From my understanding, this is not necessarily, you know, 100% black and white. It's not always a yes or no, but it could be, right? I mean, this is the agency budget. It's not our budget, to be working with. And so if they're not comfortable with a number, if they're not comfortable with justifications, they do have the ability to say, no, we just can't fund it this year. We can't make it part of our package. But I don't think, given who, you know, is representing, TNRC and, you know, who you've had conversations with amongst the tribe, as well, I don't think that they, you know, wouldn't entertain a conversation at least, you know, and have those working conversations with this group. I don't see that being.
No, and that's just, I agree with that. But that goes back to what Georgia was saying. We need to strategize on how to justify this and make our case to them when we're ready to do that, you know?
So part of that would be Again, I don't know the mechanics, so. This is all new for me. If we go to the tribes and we say, we want to have this increase and this would be your half, and they said yes. How much does that influence the state's position? Or not? Or if they say no, would the state be willing to increase by some percentage? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the air here to get two different entities to agree to the same amount.
Yeah, I'd be, well, I get what you're saying, but I would be hesitant to try to pit them one against the other. I want to decide where we want to go with it and give them both the same information at the same time.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but what if one says, yeah, we're in, and the other one says, no way?
Well, that's a part of the reason I think we need to have the state of the tribe together at the table talking about this. First time we'll have that is gonna be at the meeting in Helena. And maybe we can springboard off of that and within, 3 weeks or so, be a little further down the road and meet with them again.
Okay,
And propose that we continue that and as we work through this process. But, to that end, and to what you described, Haley, if Ethan is saying they're wanting it now, well, they ought to be able to provide us with some of those answers up front. About the process, because, I mean. I think differently about these things, and I think even if we pared this number down a bit, I'm more inclined to say, let's tell them what we need. And then work from there and hope that it's negotiable, but, if it's not, we need to know that. But, yeah, I think we've got plenty of work ahead of us in that regard then. Do you need anything more from the board right now, or Ethan, Roger, Haley?
No, I guess just maybe the three of us need to decide how we're gonna, the topics we wanna talk to Kayla and Melissa about, so,
Yeah, we need an agenda for that meeting.
Yeah.
You can't just go in blind.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
As you develop it, let us know, just run it by us, or.
So Ethan, maybe you can start on a draft of that, figure out what you wanna, how we wanna run this dog and pony show. So, and then Haley and I'll give you comments on it, or additions or revisions or whatever. I don't think we wanna go in with a number. I think we just wanna go in and find out what the process is and
Concept.
process and time frame.
We're probably gonna need an increase, we know we're gonna need an increase, we just don't know what the number is exactly yet, we're working. If they want a number, give them a big number. Well, we're willing to pare down, but whatever, I don't. More thoughts?
I don't wanna play poker with you.
It'd be, this is good on this FY 2027, if you could send me the digital version of that. I'd super appreciate, thank you. And, I know that for this, there's several things in here that, are redundant, I think, with the increases. So I feel like I can do a pretty good job, making some modifications here.
Yeah, we're gonna start somewhere, this is a good start. We're probably gonna end up somewhere in between there, but what and why, and I think we do need to really work through, what do we need? What do we need? We're a lot further along than we were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And developing this product, this is be really, kind of new to all of us anyway, going through this process. But getting to that point, it's Because they're gonna think about it in terms of numbers, but also their process is getting to the funding agreement. Because how we're funded is through what they're calling the funding agreement, which is the agreement between the state and the tribe about what what those numbers are. And what that looks like, because I think we had some questions about how they shaped that even the last time.
Yeah, I know that was something that I wanted to, inquire about at that meeting
Yeah, good,
as well.
good. Okay. Can we move to 5.2? Are we ready? Hearing no objection, 5.2, investment of water right application fee, it makes us come to this. You know, looks like there's some potential action there, so what do we got?
Mr. Chairman, I reached out to LOCI Bank, which has all of our funds there, and asked them after a meeting that the budget committee had with Greg Spar, he said that his suggestion would be to see if we could get better interest. And they were more than willing to work with us, and so we went from 1% interest rate to 3% on our funds and money market. They also gave us on the second page, they gave us a basic presentation for your guys' review. Different scenarios down here at the bottom, 3-month CD versus what we would have in the public market, money market account. And what our potential interest would be earning wise. And so you can see on the first column, if we did a 3-month CD, we would get interest rate at 3.65. Right now, that's the best performing CD that they offer, is the 3-month. And then if we have different variations of the funds in like the public account at 3%, what our potential earnings could be per month. So there's some question answer type things here in the body of that. If you guys have some thoughts on that, we can work through it. Some simple things is the money isn't tied up, so we could still access it. We would just lose out on the interest of the money that we would take out. The APY is per year. That's if we had the same interest rate rolling over every 3 months over and over again, then we could get bumped. But she said that rarely happens, that interest rate is so stable that then we would not probably qualify for the APY. My suggestion would be to, at minimum, to consider for the board to consider putting the water application fees and the current interest income to date into a CD to start with. To start earning a little bit more interest on that money. And then every 3 months, we could inject the current water interest fees for that cycle along with any interest earned. And then it would just be able to be maintained kind of as a standalone thing for you guys to look at.
Remind us what those amounts are.
300 and I have it here in front of me. I was going to put it. I might. So we have 309,212.55 in our water application fees. And then our interest income to date is 20,362. So just shy of. I'm gonna run the number because I don't want to throw one out on you guys. Just shy of 330,000, so $329,574.78.
Did we have thoughts to earmark any of that, what those funds for our, any of our accounts that we're talking about? Or is that something else?
Either talk about marking some for the audit, or did we change our mind on that and roll it on? Cause this year's audit is 24,000.
Yeah, I believe that you guys discussed, earlier today, 25,000 and could potentially use that money left over in the 185.
We still have about $25,000 from the one-time startup allocation of $185,000. And we thought we would use that, earmark that money for our audit. But then you still, what's in the checking account?
I'm sorry, we have a little over 1 million between both accounts. For current funds.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be a problem at all if we stuck that money in a CD. We still got lots of money for operating.
You made the comment, and I generally understand LCD's work, but you made the comment, it would still be accessible. What does that mean?
So it's not inaccessible, if you needed to draw any money out during any period of time, you can absolutely do so. You would just lose out on the interest earned for that period. So,
No other penalties?
no. Just the interest. I was thinking, my thought process was at least start with the water application and earn an income until we get our fusion from our next budget cycle. But Roger, I think, was also talking that there's potential for a little bit more investment too. So that's kind of where we're discussing this.
Increase the rate on the public money market from 1% to 3%. I'm just
That's,
curious why it wasn't at 3% to begin with.
I couldn't answer that. Yeah, it was as easy as making some phone calls and talking to the right people. I couldn't answer that question. It was Greg's. He said, it looked low to him, and so he was absolutely right. They didn't have a problem increasing it.
You called them and how did that go? What did?
So I think that they are very interested in keeping our business, because I did tell them that we were considering different accounts at a higher interest rate, and told them that we were going to get another infusion within the next month or two of 1.1. That initiated some rapid emails, and we got escalated up to the chain to this Whitney gal, very, very great person, super, super smart and very friendly. And she's like, yeah, no problem, and if you need anything in the future, please, here's my direct line, reach out to me. So
We'll call her back and ask for 5%.
Well,
It was that easy, what the heck?
I think that's a delicate way of saying you played hardball, and good job.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
that's what I just heard anyway.
If we ask for 5, all we do is say no.
Well, Roger, I can't remember if it was you or you, Rhonda, that mentioned Whitefish Credit Union is at 4.1.
Roger mentioned it,
You
yeah.
mentioned it.
And Blue Vine, I think, is at 4.5, which is, it's another, I don't think it's a credit union, but it's an investment too. So there is some other option.
So there's additional room for negotiation perhaps, maybe not at year 5, but we're getting close.
4.1 would work.
Well, we can always get a CD. I think it's a 4-month CD at Whitefish Credit Union, the 4.1.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yeah. I mean, we could just take that money and dump it there. We could see if Glacier Bank will match it first. If they won't, then,
Well, we got the negotiator here, so.
Well, we should probably lay the groundwork on the Whitefish Credit Union, so it's talk to them and tell them what we're thinking, and make sure that we know what we're doing before we move anything.
I definitely think that it needs to be compared. I think that, penalties and fees, if you guys ever need it, is a kind of a deal breaker for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the extra 1% interest, but we can definitely open the door for talk. They're talking 3.65 and you're talking 4.1. We are talking about having to open accounts and go through that process to move it to Whitefish. So what is that difference? It would be, can you even do that math off the top of their head?
0.5% is all it is.
Yeah, so
Yeah, well,
we might be able to do get Glacier to do that.
How do you want to proceed?
Well, let Rhonda check into it, I guess, and see what she
You come back with a recommendation at our next meeting and
Yeah.
then make a decision?
Okay,
Does that be fair? I mean,
are we having a meeting in October?
Yeah, today.
Yeah.
say this is October.
Right? Are we having another? meeting in October?
You probably should. We haven't decided, but yeah, we'll get there and on. I would think that between now and the next meeting, if you have information though, that you want us to consider or have a recommendation, I'll just get us an email.
Okay.
Include Haley, if you need to include Haley in more discussion, please do, and then at least make sure she's aware of whatever recommendation you want to have.
Okay.
I think it all makes sense, but do the best we can with the funds we get, and I think I'm still curious why it, because I know we went from checking account to money market, then checking a couple of years ago, and yeah, I just assumed that without knowing, it would have been more than 1%, but 1% all the time, I just don't know why it was
So I've
higher.
been under the assumption too that we want to leave the majority of that into the money market, and so we're only operating on bare minimum and checkings. So we transfer 100,000 at a time, which is about 3 to 4 weeks of operating expenses, so we can leave as much money in that earning account. So I think that with this new interest rate, so far year to date, we've earned 20,000, and just running quick math on it, we have a potential to have $35,000 a year in earned income with this new interest rate. If we do it right.
So the money would be putting into a CD, for example, we would keep the money market account as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would have the money market with your, however you
We
want
can
it.
withdraw that down.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can use that to draw down for our operating budget.
right, and that's 3%, and then whatever you can set aside, we can get 3.65 and maybe even 4% on that at 3 months at a time, and that will roll over automatically unless we tell them different.
Yeah.
And so then it will start a new cycle.
And we can change the amounts, yeah, because we'd want the CDs, when they come mature, and you want to visit with them and make decisions as we go, not just make it, yeah.
Yep.
Maybe you take a look at what would be the conservative maximum amount we could put into a CD also.
I would have that answer if I knew when we were gonna get our infusion of our next cycle of money. That's kind of the factor I don't know. If we had that 1.1 coming in right now, I could totally feel really confident, but not knowing when we're gonna approve it and not knowing when that check's coming. Because last time it took almost 3 months after you guys approved the budget. So that's where I'm kind of hesitant to make that assumption.
We could also get into a start and then get into a situation where if we need to do more, we could do a staggered CDs so that they, you know, every month.
Yeah.
you get a new one coming up, and then you could just rotate them.
Yeah, that'd be ideal.
Absolutely.
Yep.
To that extent, and I know that you're doing great, but Greg Spar he came from the financial world.
Mhm.
He's their accountant. But it might be good to bounce some of those ideas off of, just say, you know, here's what we're looking at, you know. that it was- I think he'd be willing to visit with you about ideas.
Mhm.
When you, as you're looking at those. Yeah, if you have trouble reaching them, let me know.
Okay. Last time it took a little while. We were, it was crickets, but then all of a sudden we got a response and got a meeting.
Yeah, well, and then we just met with him, so yeah, he's generally responsive, but just as an idea, and I'm not requiring it, but certainly might be a good idea, because otherwise you end up going out and we hire a financial advisor and, you know, he's
He's
next
there.
best thing to a financial advisor, and he's right there. I mean,
Sure.
I think he's willing to talk.
Would the board be interested in doing anything with the CD before next month? Or am I hearing you guys would like at least another few meetings to talk about it?
Oh, it's not gonna make a difference that much.
Okay.
I don't think,
Do you get more information?
yeah.
Okay,
Well, while we're still on the budget, I guess there's one other thing I'd
Yeah,
like to
Carter.
mention. So in our meeting with Greg too last week, he again emphasized the need to get our audit done for 2025. And that would really help also when we go to the funding agencies to show them that we are, we can manage our money well. So Greg did give us a template for a request for proposals. Rhonda has taken a swag at preparing a one for the board, and Georgia and I are in the process of reviewing that. And we're gonna get comments back to Rhonda, and then we'll be sending that out. So I just thought I'd give you an update on that process also.
Yeah, that's good, we need to do it.
Yeah.
And well, he also laid out the idea of the different levels of audits, and
Yeah,
he's kind of he's got a general recommendation about the level of audit we need to
yeah.
deal with that.
And I actually found that in my first meeting with him. So I got that somewhere.
I think given all the good advice that Greg has given us, plus this little insight into bumping up our interest rates, we need to be sending the man a Christmas card and a fruit basket or something, so. You know, that's considerable amount of money he's helped us out with.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem with that, but I know Greg, I'm gonna give him a big head now. Yeah, no, nice letter from the board maybe would be,
Yeah,
and you wanna, you know, a good idea, maybe a letter from the board, just thanking him for all of his support and what he's done for us, and unless he asks for a cut of that increase, I think we're fine.
I'm not above making some baked goods and drop it out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good thought, appreciate that. Will a letter be, I mean, if we get a letter from the board, is that be good?
I think so, but I personally would rather have brownies.
Well,
Just saying, so.
we'll put a footnote in the letter, say, what's your favorite treat?
You can give him a jar of your current jam. Yeah.
There you go, we can make that happen.
Free to do that, you know. Yeah. Anything else on the budget? So we're not taking action on that today, so we'll just wait till we get more information, is that fair? Okay. All right, water engineer updates.
Chairman, step back for a second.
You want us to wait?
No.
All right.
All right, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'm gonna modify my section a little bit, if that's all right, but, I'm gonna give you,
Well, that depends, because we already approved the agenda.
all right, well, it's not a good day for the employee spotlight, so, we'll urging you to delay that till the next meeting.
Okay,
On On the wireless front, staff keep moving database stories. It seems like they never end, but, the new big stuff is starting to freeze up because there's no money left for several of the items that need to get done. The main pending stuff that needs to get done would be, we've done most of what needed to happen to restrict, OE staff from water rights that are out and water right activities that are outside of our jurisdiction, but there's not been a lot done, to reciprocate in terms of, setting aside permissions that should be exclusive to OE staff as compared to DNRC staff. That'll be mostly what the EPP wireless funding focuses on.
I'm sorry, could you restate that? I'm just,
In the database, there are water rights that are under the jurisdiction of the board.
Yeah.
And there are water rights that are under the jurisdiction of the state. And a lot of our process, this long and involved water rights database building process has focused not just on building the water right applications that we need, but also on setting permissions. Permissions that would restrict us from doing certain activities that we don't have jurisdiction to do, such as making a change to a water right that's off of the reservation. And so we're close to conclusion with that portion, but the reciprocal permissions work is yet to happen, where the state would be restricted to water rights that are on the reservation.
and does that part of the discussion, help resolve the border boundary?
It's
Ones that we talked about?
it's deeply intertwined with that issue. Yeah, and it does help, but a lot of what I'm talking about is just what lever can you flip and switch inside of the water rights database, you know, depending on where that water rights point of conversion is located. Most of our wires work, however, has been involved with registrations and catch up of previous water rights that have been issued. So staff have also been doing a ton of database entry and some issuances as well. We do have, Sydney was nice enough to put together, well, I guess on the wires front, do you have any questions for me on the database?
Any questions?
We do have on the operations, front, some updated, water right application reports for you. We have some additional tracking comparisons. September has been a busy phone call. A lot of phone calls in September. Mondays continue to prove the main reason that I look tired at board meetings on Tuesdays. There's a lot of work that happens on Mondays every week, and then tapers. A little bump at Thursday, the least amount of work that we see is still on cycles.
Question,
Yes,
your title says days a week comparing incoming traffic from March and September, but I don't see that comparison in the graph.
So it's the incoming traffic between March and September, or the days of the week?
So
starting in March, ending in September. So we could rephrase that March through September.
okay, through
And,
September.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I read it.
it's really a comparison of
Comparing the 2 months.
walk-ins and phone calls.
okay.
So we'll improve the title on that. Thanks for reading that. Good.
We both did the same line. I know.
Although if you'd like to compare March and September, you can see that we have had more phone calls and less walk-ins in September and March.
It's too nice outside. People are just doing a call.
So it looks like, September closed out with, 12 received applications. For brand new ones and, we had 8 approvals, part As. Soon we'll start adding registrations. Well, okay. The registrations are underway, so that is underreported here. We will, well, it's not underreported here. Sorry, I just need to read better. I need-
Those other applications,
Sorry. All right,
which I would like to limit that 48 to 71. We would have to today.
46 to 71.
Yeah.
So it looks like, I just didn't read, as good as I should have. We have, under stock water allowances, we have approved 71,
46.
no, 46.
So the 180 day suspended rights we've approved and shoot 71, it's about 48.
Oh, let's see that. Wait, I'm sorry. So stock water allowances we've received. We've approved part A on 46, and then part B is completed on 5. And that is reflective of pretty much the entire extent of the state CITT, or the, not the state, but the CITT funding, right? So we're through the large part of the hurdle of the CITT funding for stock water allowances. We'll still have a bunch of work to do at the part B phase and the issuance. But wow, staff have gotten, out of the 208 registrations received from the board's Helena office, right? 71 of those have been issued.
Where do you see 71? I don't see.
It's Sydney was just making a recorrection under issued next to 180, and she said that the recount from,
Today,
From-
71.
from today is gone from 48 up to 71 now.
Okay. That's good.
Is that, yeah, oh yeah, you've got that.
Yeah, that's the totals.
So on that stock water allowances, one, you mentioned this is a, larger result of the CITT process,
Not entirely, but yes,
the irrigation projects went through.
yep.
I'm just surprised that it's only 46. That was interesting.
24 of the 46 are are funded by the CITT. So the remainder, 50, oh, we're still waiting on 56? Oh my God, we're not doing the water share. Yeah, we're still gonna get a glut.
Oh, okay, well, that makes more
Well,
sense, because
sorry.
46 number seems low to me, but if that's all there was, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, that's operations. On the other front, I have a handout for you. And I'm gonna seek some of your constructive wisdom.
The other fund, it says other items.
Other. All right, so, we are needing a little assistance from you to talk about the PR piece that you wanted to get drafted to go out. And we have some bullets of types of information that could be included on this piece. But I think we needed to have, the board give us some pointers on what you want to see for, you'd wanted a publication to go out that there's two different genres that were sort of discussed. One was the like, remind people who you are, what you do, and report some baseline accomplishment information. And to us, that we tend to focus on the water right applications. Then there was another piece where you thought maybe we should do a reminder to people that we're starting to really interact with the registrations. And that those pieces of paper that you haven't thought about for somewhere between 30 and 5 years, maybe 4, I guess. 3.5, something like that. We may be contacting you about those, right? This would be a good time for us to get some real direction from you, if you have some, so that we can give you a draft of the next iteration on the kind of things you want to see going out in the paper. Because when we sort of reviewed our notes on it, we felt like we needed to have another touch base on what messaging you want to have going out.
So this is what you want to send out?
No,
Okay.
Now, this is just bullets of some of the types of numbers that we could report. And I'm asking you right now to like, give me a more consolidated, direction on what kind of a PR piece you want to have going out.
And who's your audience?
We will put this in the newspaper. Your direction was to
Who's
put
your audience?
all of the Flathead Indian Reservation.
Public, okay.
So Ethan, I thought you made some really great PR statements today during our budget conversation. We were talking in context of the building. And you made the couple of comments I thought were really terrific. And one was, this office has created jobs, good paying jobs for this community. Another one was that ambiguity, I don't know, I'm not gonna quote you properly, you can quote yourself where I mess up. But where there may have been ambiguity in water rights before, people can have greater security in knowing what their rights are, which I'm sure bolsters property value, correct? Am I getting the gist of what you were saying?
That is correct. Certainty.
Certainty, thank you. And I think those kinds of statements are very impactful, perhaps even more impactful than a quantitative list of applications, because Ms. Smith in Charlotte may not know what these are, right? But she knows that the property value may be worth more and there's job availability. So just some thoughts.
So that kind of piggybacks on my reason why I was asking who your audience is. If you were to send something like this out, I think it'd go over probably 70% of people's heads on this resolution.
Sure.
I think it needs to be audience friendly. Who you talking to? What is a domestic allowance? But that piggybacks onto you. Where we sit in Charlotte doesn't know what we're talking about.
But there might be a way to reframe this.
Yeah, that's what I'm
that
suggesting,
we are
yeah.
making, we're improving access to certainty of water rights. I'm just trying to think how you would put it. For both tribal and non-tribal residents on the reservation, right? So,
the data I think is important, but I think how that's included, I think that's either a footnote or a table. With a little narrative attached to some press release. But, I think about this also in terms of being educational.
oh,
Because I think the public, just like talking with Greg, yesterday. You know, he was asking questions and pointing out some things that just sort of, like, it's just intuitive to us because we live it. But even folks like the tribal council, if we went in and made a presentation to them, you know, I go back to want to be educational and tell a story. You know, the other thing that I'm thinking about is we should do this in a way where we roll this out over time, not just send out one press release and say, well, that's it, we've done it. We need to do this in a way where we put something out maybe every other month. Or once a quarter. And stay on the education theme. Give a little information about what we're doing. Provide table of information maybe on the data, but that's kind of what I think about. I think about this, try to keep it really educational. That's what I have. Because, you know, the general public, you know, as much as we live it, and we spent decades trying to negotiate a settlement here that got us to this administrative system that we have. That's it. No system, as you pointed, no system existed after 1992 or whatever date it was. It was zero water rights administration on the reservation until this compact come into place. With the establishment of this administrative process, it creates now an opportunity for us as a community to move forward with water planning. And water planning means economic security for everyone.
But also resource protection.
Resource protection.
I think the two need to be emphasized.
Absolutely, that's all part of the story.
It's part of the story, and I think you can't overstate often enough that this is both state and tribal, because the perception in the community is still that it's tribal. And
There's some of that, yeah, there is.
there's a lot of that, and, you know, I live in Polson, I live in an all-white neighborhood. And even though we get together with our neighbors, and they know I sit on this board, it doesn't matter how, and I mean, these are people I've had their feet under my table, I've fed them, and we've talked about this, and they still think that this is an all-tribal board. Some of them do.
And then when you say it's not tribal, they're like, oh yeah, state.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, but that's part of the story, and I think we need to tell that, because, you know, I went through that just recently with the room full of judges in Missoula. You know, telling that story, it said, we're not, you know, we're not state, we're not tribal, and I said, they decided we're a government instrumentality, and they all laughed, but that's what it is. Now, we don't put that out to the public, but that's part of the story. Yeah.
It's part of the story, and I think where this gets confusing, because these are good people, they're smart people. It's just, by and large, what they hear in the community from many, many voices is that this is a tribal board. I'm just one voice saying it's state and tribal.
Yeah.
So I think, we need to keep saying that
Yeah.
at every opportunity until that starts getting baked in, and that's just gonna take time. And I know that you do that, Ethan. That is certainly not, I don't mean that in any way of a critique of the efforts of anyone in this office. I just think this is a reflection of the community we live in.
You need to be educational because they don't listen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
or they
mean,
listen to other voices.
well, they listen whether they want to, but, you know, that point, even the appeal case that we had, one of the attorney that was involved actually referred to this as a tribal board in that
There you
document.
go. Yeah,
And I, you know, we didn't correct it, but it's wrong.
right.
It's not accurate. So, yeah, that's all part of the story. So I go back to just the whole notion of, is the story clear? And let's tell the story. Yeah, the numbers are important, but I think we need to characterize those numbers or frame those numbers in a way that fits into the narrative, not just put out the numbers, because they don't care.
I think you got a little good summary here, but, I think Georgia and Clayton, Cannonball made good valid comments, and just, keep this explanation simple too. But you could, I think I would only focus on 3 of these things and I would, like new residential wells, new stockwater wells, and new small subdivisions, those are things people can relate to. They're gonna know what those are. So if you call them a domestic allowance, it's like, what the hell is that?
Well, it's a good reminder that we also want to educate people that just because they're drilling a well doesn't mean they're gonna have what do you call it, a monitor on it, a well measuring device. Everybody, that's still out there.
That's
Oh,
still
yeah.
out there, it's still. out
Everyone's
there.
required to have a measuring device. No, not. So,
And then you could wind up saying too, we're now working on bringing all the public water supply wells into compliance. Just, that we're making progress on these things is the thing to point out. I'm just, I always go, talk to me like I'm a county commissioner. Here, I'll do that.
George, your thoughts?
Yeah, a little bit. Instead of like trying to cover this all at one time, you mentioned like every other month or every month,
Yeah.
putting out a notice. Just take like one topic and try to cover it really well.
Yeah.
Really good point. Good idea.
I think the most we're gonna be able
Or
to,
2.
to really be doing outreach would be like quarterly. Just because of our time constraints that we have here at the office. The other thing is, this may cost like $1,600 pop. $1,600 to publish it. 4 papers, like a large block.
We'll see. Just because we've got access to people who do this, live in that world, PR world. As you're developing this, visit with Rob McDonald.
Sure.
And just, here's our goal, here's what we're trying to do, have him take a look at a draft. And just talk to him about how best to get it out. He's done this a long time
He is masterful.
and knows all the players. And would be a good resource for you, and he won't cost you anything. I might have to buy him a beer, but
No, the expense that I'm talking about is the cost of publishing.
no, I get it,
Okay.
but he might even be able to help with that.
Sure.
Not financially, but he might have ideas about how best to get this out in
So contact Rob
in an efficient way.
with a.
Yeah, just, and if he asks if he asks, tell him I sent you.
So Rob is to PR what Greg is to money.
Yeah,
So,
and he's back in the PR saddle over there. So,
is he in the main complex or back out at Kicking Horse?
conflict.
Yeah.
He's at the complex.
He's back in Paddle. Yeah.
Okay.
You might even wanna not only limit it to Lake County, but see if you can give it to the, can never remember what the Kalispell paper is.
Courier,
Pardon me.
Flathead Courier.
No, Interlake, yeah, the Interlake,
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just sort of regional, yeah.
There.
Yeah. And
And
I
we're
was
thinking
thinking,
we would put it in multiple papers, probably including Missoula.
And I'm suggesting talk to Rob, and there might even be a state counterpart, and I don't know who's out there, but might be a state counterpart that want to just say, hey, we're thinking about doing this, what do you think?
Yep. And the chartreuse, the Lake County Leader, the
Yeah,
Valley Journal.
If you couch it right, they might just look at it as not a public announcement, but more of a news item, you know.
education.
Human interest.
Alrighty, well, this is useful, we'll bring you something a little more tangible on the next go around.
Yeah, we are the Flathead Regulation Water Management Board. How did we get here? And where are we going?
Would it be worth doing a brief rundown on, because one of the biggest things that people get confused about is what all the different water right offices do.
And what are all the different water right offices?
We got the Water Corp, we got the Montana DRC, we got the Tribal Registration Water Right Office, we got.
You know, I wouldn't start there.
Not at
That
this
might
time.
be an interesting article at some point. But let's get them up to speed first. And then when they start asking, we can, you know, because somebody's gonna ask, so, well, what about, say, aren't you part of, no, we're not.
But that
Then we
is a
can
good,
start to get articles.
that is a good point though, because we do get calls about the adjudication stuff.
Sure, no, I get it, but I don't think we wanna start there.
No.
I'm gonna get them up to speed and then work into how we, you know. Maybe an article that covers that. You know, in a way that's education, yeah.
We're starting with people who think we're trying to meter all the wells and that we're just tribal. So
Yeah,
we gotta work up from there.
you guys are doing good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Ethan, that's good. That was a good any other?
Nope, that's it. That concludes my broadcast from the Office of the Water Engineer.
All right. Financial director says board business. What do you got?
I didn't realize that there was anything under board business, so I don't have anything, so it's already kind of been discussed, budget and, oh, compensation, yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
Sure,
That's not.
that's, yeah. So we do have some updates, depending, I don't have the agenda exactly in front of me, so which one's going first? Was
The
it
committee report.
committee? We did have some updates on the fly on our green sheet, so that was handed out during the middle of the meeting, so you should have 2 sheets to look at. The first one went out to public posting, and we were missing, George's hours. And so the additional one that I just handed out has George's hours captured.
Did you say George's or Georgia?
George's.
You started out.
George's. I would mess that one up with the Georgia earlier, so.
I'll share it with you. Oh, I got you.
So everything looked good to me.
So we're on the committee one,
Yes.
right? Okay, committee one. Mine looks good. Well, apparently George is good too.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for the work you do. Much appreciated. So good, Roger?
Yeah, good.
Good. Good job. Yes. Motion to approve. We're on committees and you're not.
Yeah.
You know, once you make a motion to approve.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the board composition committee hours for September 2025.
Motion by Ken,
I'll second.
second by George, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, hearing none, we are approving. Now on the board compensation. And I had indicated mine was good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Roger, you good, Ken?
Yes.
Good job.
Yes.
And George,
Yes.
you good, so I need someone to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the board compensation.
Motion by Roger,
And I'll second.
second by George, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed, hearing none, we're good.
Okay.
Next meeting. Says question mark, sounds good to me. No, we probably have time to have another one in October, I mean, I don't know what that's gonna do.
The last week will be out because of the law conference.
Yeah,
So,
Well, that's only 3 days, so 3 weeks, right?
2 weeks, maybe? 21st? If we stick with Tuesday? Tuesday or Thursday, I don't remember if Thursday worked or not, but,
Thursday doesn't work because of my teaching schedule.
okay, so that's why we're looking at Tuesday. So.
What day are you talking about, Mr. Chairman?
I just thrown it out, 21st, works for me.
I can do that.
There's 2, I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay, 21st. You good?
I'll be remote for that, but I can make it work.
Sounds good.
I'll be in Michigan.
Oh, well, if you're on personal time, don't worry about it. Just,
I have an amazing plan for that day in Michigan.
you never know.
And the water law conference is on the 28th and 29th.
Yep.
21st. And assume another executive session, yes? With that in mind, yeah, okay. I'm good, Ethan?
Yep.
All right.
Guess were we gonna try to have a budget meeting or not?
If we could, yes.
Want to do that in the morning again?
I was hoping maybe if we could do something a little further, if possible, so we maybe have to do public posting, so then the board can make a motion, potentially, unless you want to push that off until November for our 2026 budget.
Well, we'd almost have to do that on the 4th of November. It looks like.
So put it into November for that. So I'll just work on getting the board budget versus actuals for approval on that meeting on the 21st.
Yeah. Does that budget committee work for you on the 4th? November 4th?
What times?
Yes. I don't know. That's 2 weeks after. Are you gonna wanna, when are you gonna wanna have another board meeting?
I'm sorry, would we not be trying to get something done for the budget on the 21st? And if not, what would we be doing on the 21st? What are the agenda items? I mean, I thought that meeting would be a priority to get budget stuff moved.
It sounded like you weren't even gonna have stuff ready till the 20th, huh?
I'm aiming to have everything ready for board for budget versus actuals by the 20th. There's some other numbers you wanted, the budget committee wanted ran. But as far as public posting, I won't probably have anything for public posting by that time. I don't have enough days in the month. I can have it for discussion.
Yeah, I don't have anything for the 21st.
We do potentially have some investment stuff to discuss, and we can continue to work on 2027 budget to have something for the 27th. Further discussions that way.
We're all blocked out, 27, 28, 29. Really, then the next potential Ethan doesn't have anything available for the 21st. We should just wait till the 4th of November.
Well, why don't we? Let me just suggest this, so. Let's suggest both of those dates and then by, let's say next week, if we really don't have anything for the 21st, we'll just cancel the 21st. But we'll leave that open for a week, so, give you a chance to think about whether or not we need something.
So
And if any board members have anything you want to cover on the 21st.
for the 21st, I will have budget versus actuals done for submission. I need board approval, do I not? Or consensus to submit those to funding parties for the final for 2025. What do they do? 30 days after close.
So, end of November.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the board can discuss it at that meeting, or you have enough time on, if the meeting's on the board, so it's not a
Okay.
pressing concern, but.
Okay, so let's just bump forward to November, so November what? 4. November 4. Election day. I don't know what election that is. Is that the midterm? It's not midterm day, is it?
I think we're gonna put some board members in or out that day.
I'm gone anyway, so it doesn't matter. 4th, okay, November 4th, 11.
I will be available.
You want to pick another day?
The 11th is a holiday.
See if you can, if you wanna.
Should be back. Week of 17th.
No, you guys wanna go that long, that far out? We can do the 4th, then the 18th. Tentatively,
Can I do the 4th? No.
no, I meant as a. Fourth? We're good, 4th? Okay. Well, let's set the 4th. Ken won't be there. Do you want to also reach out as far as the 18th and say potentially the 18th?
That doesn't work for me. That's finals week.
Or is one meeting in November adequate? Start to get into the holiday crunches.
Yes.
25th, so.
Yeah. Like
I
I
am
said,
cooking my turkey.
like I said, holiday crunches, I don't know if you guys want to squeeze one in there.
We might not be able to get anything, in December, so if there is availability for the majority of board members to have 2 meetings in November, it might be productive.
25th? Okay, well,
This is the difference between male and female board members right here. This is like the big cooking Olympics for me.
I'll be kicking too.
Will you? Then how can you make a meeting the week of Thanksgiving?
I just get a work sandwich. Do we think we would be able to have budget stuff done by the 4th? Maybe we didn't have a meeting without Ken. No offense, I would love to have you. Oh, we do have that?
yeah, the 4th is good. The question is whether or not we do a
Guys
second
should
one in
tell me
November.
better, because I didn't have.
It's just either
They're trying to schedule the 2nd November meeting.
Okay, but Ken's not available on the 4th, right? No.
When are your finals?
The week of the 17th.
All week?
Yeah, that's the big week. And I don't teach on Tuesdays, but I always have a student who can't take their final on one day and they have to take it on, that out. And so
So that Thursday isn't.
I could, you know what, let's put it, the 18th work for everybody. I could try to make it on the eighteenth.
It works for me.
Okay, I'd rather be here on the eighteenth than to try to come in the week.
The 25th?
Cooking, yeah, can't, not messing with that turkey.
Well, nice to get everybody, but all right, 18, 11, 18.
So just to clarify, are we also having a budget meeting on the fourth?
Well, we're looking at the 4th.
That's what I wrote down.
And the board meeting? Okay,
And the 21st of
So
October.
10/21, 11/4, and 11/18. And then the 10/21 was, I thought we were just trying to say, give it a week, and if you guys really don't have anything for us, maybe you just cancel it. Otherwise, we've got a week to plan and decide if we got something for the October 21st. Sound fair? Sound you good at that?
Yeah.
Okay. Last thoughts?
I got nothing.
You did anything? Last thoughts?
I don't have any last thoughts.
Thoughts, Haley? Motion to adjourn.
So, sure.
Motion, second by Roger, all in favor, say aye.
I
I'm opposed, no.
don't know how to say that. But I would say, just to say it.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.